Council for Monday, July 20th, 2020. I would all ask that you rise for a brief invocation to be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Tonight, as we meet in what is proving to be one of the more trying times in the history of our country, in the history of our state, and in the history of our city, we are ever thankful for the many support of issues that continue to flitter around us and with us. We are ever so thankful for the many friendships and close relationships that each of us enjoy while we live in the community of Batavia. This is a very special place on the face of this earth, and we are ever so thankful that our community has been so blessed by having so many assets, amenities, and attributes that make Batavia something that we are all proud to call our home. We just ask that as time goes forward, we are able to overcome the issues of the pandemic and that we go forward in a new sense of appreciation for the goodness that surrounds us. As always tonight, we ask for a special blessing to be showered upon those from our community who are serving in foreign soil in defense of the liberties of the United States of America, and we just ask that guidance and watchfulness be shown to each one of those men and women as they go about their vital mission. Also, as always, we ask for understanding and compassion and vision as the members of the City Council act on the items of discussion on our agenda, knowing that in the hearts and minds of each of us, we are here to do what we feel is in the very best of our interests of our community. Finally, we just ask for a very special blessing upon the community of Batavia itself, that it may continue on its grand course of progress and friendship, in love and redemption and understanding and mutual camaraderie that makes us such a great place to live and call our homes and raise our families. We ask for all these blessings. Amen. Alderman Irwin, you want to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Ask the city clerk to please call the roll.
Miller,
Here.
Rosado,
Here.
Beck,
Here.
Knopp,
Here.
Chansett,
Here.
Wolf,
Here.
Barron,
Here.
O'Brien,
Here.
Callahan,
Here.
Meitzler,
Here.
Malay,
Here.
Ewer,
Here.
Saron.
Here.
So we have all 14, correct?
Oh, sorry, McFadden.
Here.
Okay,
Yes, all 14.
all 14. It's hard to tell anymore because nobody sits in a normal spot. I'm trying to figure out who's missing. Okay, moving to 4, the reminder that we ask everybody to please use the microphone if you're going to be speaking tonight, and including those in the audience. And I've been given some other mayor's notes. It says on the phone, please mute when you are not speaking to minimize background noise. When approaching to speak, please use the mic stand, not the podium. And we want tonight on the agenda to move item 10 so it is before item number 15. And does everybody understand what we want to do? I guess we need a motion then to amend the agenda as presented.
So moved. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the amendments to the agenda, which specifically includes moving item 10 so that it will be item 14A. Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Chansett,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosado,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Knopp.
Aye.
Motion's approved, 14 yes, no no's, none absent. And let me just explain why we wanted to move item 10 so it becomes 14A, and that is because Alderman Beck has to recuse herself from the meeting during those two votes, and we thought instead of having her do it twice, and trying to get it back in, and we would do it all at once so that it would allow her to take herself out and come back in once we were through with item 15. All right, moving then to item number 7, which is, moving then to item number 5, items to be removed, added, or changed. We already did that. So item number 6, the consent agenda. Do we have anything tonight? Alderman Chanza?
Your Honor, the consent agenda reads as follows: to accept and place on file the Historic Preservation Commission minutes of June 22nd, 2020, and the building reports June 2020. For approvals, the July 10th payroll in the amount of $903,265.26, the accounts payable check register in the amount of $4,267,352.59. For approval, rejecting bids for the 2020 self-contained leaf collection trailer. Resolution 20-88-R, approving a plat of dedication for part of the 900 block of North Van Buren Street. Ordinance 20-44, proposing the establishment of SSA number 66, that's the Mill McKee Retail Center. Ordinance 20-47, declaring certain property to be surplus and authorizing the sale thereof. Resolution 20-90-R, resolution approving statements of work between City of Batavia and Fermilab for the construction lease and maintenance of certain fiber optic infrastructure. Your Honor, I would move that we approve the consent agenda as read.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Chanza, second by Alderman Knapp for the approval of the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Chansett.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Barron.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Rosado.
Aye.
Beck.
Aye.
Knopp.
Aye.
Consent agenda is approved by a vote of 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Moving to 7, do we have matters from the public for items not on the agenda? Do we have anybody this evening? All right, moving right along then to Main Street. And we have our esteemed Executive Director, Sherry Wilcox, here.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me? All right, thank you. Thanks for having me, everybody. It's been a busy month, so I'm going to run through this fairly quickly, but there's a lot going on. At Main Street, we elected new board members and this past month, and those new board members include Tom Freeman, owner of Red Hive Market, Casey Hogue, owner at 6 Plus Cypress and the Other Half, a longtime supporter of Batavia Main Street and one of our Windmill Volunteers of the Year recently, Marcia Boyce of Boyce Body Works, and Beth Ann Gudarelli of the Batavia Park District. So we welcome them to our team. We're thrilled to have them on board. I think they'll make a great addition to all of our Batavia Main Street planning. We also elected new officers and will be led this coming year by our new president, Bob Hansen, who's with us tonight from Funway. He's going to come and talk to you in a little bit about the boardwalk shops, but I just wanted to touch on a couple quick things as part of my update, and then you'll hear more about that later. Our boardwalk shops continue to draw people not only from our Batavia community and the Tri-Cities, but from all over the western suburbs. We see people at the boardwalk shops and coming to ask about the boardwalk shops and calling us about hours of the boardwalk shops from Naperville and Lisle, Warrenville and Hinsdale, LaGrange, South Elgin, St. Charles, Wheaton, Warrenville. They are a draw. And as we talk to them when they arrive, they are walking through our town. I had one woman tell me, "You have more home decor in this town than I've ever seen," which means that she may have started at the boardwalk shops, but she ended much further west at some of our brick and mortars. The reason for this is that it's an interesting concept in a time when retail in a downtown has suffered so greatly. So people are curious, they're interested, they're coming, they're visiting, and we should all be really proud about the burgeoning retail we now have in our downtown. Pop-up shops on the open boardwalk, themed weekends. This weekend is Christmas in July, and already our owners have started to think about the future in brick and mortar spaces, possibly in our downtown. More about that later. Another thing that continues to bring people in from outside of Batavia and within our own community is our farmers market. With more than 40 vendors a week, our weekly farmers market gives opportunities to local vendors and farmers that are much needed so that they can survive, as well as several local businesses here in town who have found a way to take advantage with a booth space and boost their sales each and every week. Also boosting sales each and every week is outdoor dining. Outdoor dining persists, and we're extremely thankful for it. Thank you to the city for working with us on signage and a beautiful banner on River Street, as well as the driveway access. We continue to work through that. Our businesses on River Street are programming. Second Fridays saw full patios from Pepe's all the way up to Gammon Coach House. Our businesses on River Street are programming trivia and live acoustic music, open mic days, and they're working on bingo and even more on the street so that people have a reason to come out, buy some food and drink, and stay in downtown. Our tables are full when those things happen, so our only real need, beyond a little bit more lighting, is a few more tables. So we've talked about that before, and I'm hopeful that working with the city staff, we're able to secure that. Speaking of dining and drinking and eating, our Cocktails in the Yard event, which is a virtual hybrid of our annual fundraiser, Cocktails in the Park, has been extremely well received. We're in the midst of sales now. The actual virtual event is Saturday, and there's only a couple dozen boxes left. Looks like we're going to sell out, so if you're looking to get your cocktail box and support the efforts of Batavia Main Street, I suggest you do it tonight. We're also very pleased, as Cocktails in the Yard wraps up, to be planning an event for September. Our annual block party event has been rebooted and revised. And it's hard, as you know, to offer anything during COVID that is free. It's difficult to offer a free event to the community because of crowd control, because of limitations on number of people. But our committee and our staff have been working very hard with the city staff, with the local health department, to find a way to offer a free event for the families in Batavia to enjoy. And now we've got one. We're going to offer on our regular block party Sunday of Labor Day weekend a socially distanced, zoned, downtown vintage car show with a wandering taste of Batavia. This has been tentatively approved by city staff and the health department within all the codes that are allowed. The plan allows for distancing, crowd control, face coverings, but most importantly, it allows us to provide a free event for all families to enjoy, which is something I was really afraid we weren't going to be able to do. Special thanks to our Main Street Committee and everyone involved for helping come up with that event. And as a celebration at the end of it, as the mayor has shared multiple times now in the last 2 weeks, we're hopeful that we'll have a 5-minute fireworks show over the river as just a celebratory moment to let people know that despite all the challenges of this summer, it's still great to be here, to be part of the Batavia community, and we're happy to celebrate with them. Any questions?
Any questions?
Thanks so much.
Excellent. Is somebody else from Main Street going to speak, or is that another? Oh, okay. All right, then we will move to item number 9, which is a presentation by Batavia Main Street request for additional funding to construct an additional 4 boardwalk shops. Bob Hanson, please.
Yeah, it seems like I'm always here requesting money. Sorry about that. So, just a little update here on the boardwalk shops. Laura, go ahead to the next slide. It's kind of hard to believe, a little over a year ago, that the idea from Marty came up to do something like this, and here we are. Opened up with 8 shops, really doing really well. Things have gone really better than expected throughout the whole process, in my opinion. Next slide. Early construction phases. Next slide. The high school started off with building 2 shops early January. We started construction down at Funway right around the end of January, beginning of February. The high school was able to get the 2 shops framed up in their building, let's see, by March 10th or so. I believe that's when we all got shut down. along with the school, so we were able to eventually get down there, remove the shops with a bunch of volunteers, get them on site, and put them all together. So we were able to open up by June 1st, as most of you know. I think it was June 10th, 13th. Okay. Next slide. A couple more shots of Fox demolition there, demoing the parking lot. We ended up taking about a third of the lot out to get the ADA requirements with elevations and things leveled out. We put in about 140 ton of stone, along with a nice retaining wall. There's Tony there working hard. Tony, you're not here tonight to see see yourself. Next slide. Business applications, we ended up with, I believe, 12 applicants in the beginning. We chose 8. Next slide. We had one dropout 2 weeks prior to.
I can see you, Bob.
And then, actually, Jamie and I decided to open up a candy shop last minute so we wouldn't have a vacant store. Of course, all these shops will have to be resubmit for next year. We'll start that process, I believe, in February, right around there. And we'll more than likely have a totally different look next year. Next slide. During the COVID construction phase, it was rather difficult at times. Next slide, but we did manage to practice social distancing, except for myself there with my son. Most of us we worked really hard in trying to keep things separate and wearing masks early on. Next slide. A couple of the ladies from the shop across from us, we had Zoom meetings and things like that, like you all have. Next, some of the costs of the project are here. I do have a detailed spreadsheet worked out for y'all. Whenever you want to do the audit. Some things were up, some things were down due to donations. One thing that stands out up there that's high is the boardwalk cost itself. We chose to go with a composite material instead of womanized decking, which really made it much safer, better look, and definitely will last a long time. So that's why that cost there was up. Some of the other things we were able to do because the budget and donations allowed it was fully insulate these shops, along with putting air conditioning in each one, which we didn't plan on from the beginning. Next slide. Some of the donations, here's a list of the businesses that donated services or material. Over $42,000 in hard costs there. Next slide. Some of the volunteer crew. The top 10 there are the guys who really put in, it says they're more than 40 hours, but I'll bet you the top 6 or 8 people there had well over 120, 140 hours. Jamie, the property manager alone's got well into the 150, 200 hour range over this whole project. So I'd like to thank her for that. She has donated her time this year as a property manager. And we also had probably another 30 volunteers or so that put in 15 to 20 hours each. I think a couple of the aldermen here were actually pounding nails one night. Next. When we opened, here's some of the interior shots of the shops. Next slide. Granola shop, cupcakes, -10, shop hours, a little activity going on the boardwalk there. Everybody's been great with wearing masks. We put in signs so we would have one group at a time in per shop. It's worked out really well. All the shop owners are providing sanitizer. There's a shot from the south. We were able to get substantial donation from Barco, about $8,000 worth of benches and tables. That really helped out. We've got a great look down there. So a couple more of the numbers from June. This is June alone. We almost hit $70,000 in 8 shops. That's just amazing. It was a great opening weekend. The few remaining weekends in June, you can see that we had over 4,300 transactions from the 8 vendors. That's just a huge number. I wish I did that down at Funway some months. It's been quiet. But it's been great. All the vendors are super happy. They're already starting to look at other storefronts. Michael Marconi gave us a tour last week. Some of his open spaces that the shop owners are interested in. So it's moving in the right direction as we planned to find these shop owners to move into storefronts in town. Next slide. So we're on to phase 2 now. Next slide. We have 8 shops. We'd like to move to 12 without chimneys, of course. Phase 2, I'm like to request is $32,000 to complete the project. That's about $8,000 a shop. That's maximum amount. And we were able to complete the first project, first phase, within that $100,000. We did a lot of extras. I feel the same with this. We won't have the need for any site prep in this one. This is totally construction costs without any donations. We have yet to go out and solicit donations for lumber, roofing, siding, things like that. So this is the number to get the job done, as if I had to go pay local labor to get the job done. The phase 2 also will include the high school. We met with them last week. They're on board to bring it to Trades 1 class, which starts in the fall. Spring, what did they call it? Spring session 2 or something? In January, we'll start actually cutting the wood and building, instead of building on site in the shop over there this year, they're going to build it in a kit form. So we don't have to transport these big walls and everything over. They're going to build it in kit form, mark all the 2x4s and things, bring them on site, and the kids will assemble on site this year. It's kind of what we hoped for a little bit last year, but it didn't happen. So this year, it's going to be on site. They said they plan on getting all 4 built by spring break. Tony Millay is going to help with that project and go through some of the little minor issues we had with the building trades doing it. All in all, though, they did a great job putting them together. So it'll be much easier this year building on-site in this kit form that we plan on doing. So that the only thing we'll have to do when we get in there is put the siding on, put the roof on, finish off the interior. The electric is 90% done. And it'll be really a much simpler spring for me and the crew than this year, for sure. So, next slide. Questions?
Any questions?
I'm excited. I don't know that it's really a question, but I'm excited that we're ready to do the other 4 already. I'd imagine it'd come back at the end of this year, then we'd be asking for 2 and maybe 2 of the following year. But from what I've seen when I've been down there and from what I've heard from other people, it's just a constant flow of people anytime they're open. So I think this is something that we should really consider and figure out how we can fund this. I think it's something that's become a huge draw to our city. I mean, I've heard it all over the place from a lot of different people, a lot of different contacts that I have from throughout the Chicagoland area that want to come out here and see these and figure out, can they get off at the Geneva train station, get on a bike and ride it down here and leave it here? That's already something that I've heard in the last week, that's one of the things people are trying to figure out how to do so that they can use public transportation to get out here. So I think this is something that we should really consider.
Alderman Callahan?
I, without a doubt, 100% support finishing these out. I think from the very beginning, when we had kind of the concept in mind, it pales in comparison to the work that you and Jamie and everybody did on this. The attention to detail, the quality of it has just been absolutely amazing. And you can feel it, you can see it, and even locally, we are getting a lot of attention. I know nationally we've gotten information from other people looking at it, and even just when I went home to New York for family vacation, everybody was there, even friends and family were just following it, and they're like, wow, it looks amazing. It's just a great highlight for this community. So thank you.
Anybody else?
Is it too soon, not enough data yet to talk about this as an incubator? Whether or not any very successful stores in this group would want to venture out and look for a more permanent space? Or is it just too soon?
Well, for this season, I don't know about this season, but we did have a tour with Michael Marconi last week and visiting 2 of his sites. And there's a couple of the vendors who are really interested. They're following up with him. We'd like to contact Austin and meet with him and check out some of his sites and anybody else within town that's got some open space. So there is definitely interest on, I would say, at least 4 or 5 of the vendors right now that are really talking about that. Because they're excited. They're doing well. They need more space. One of the vendors is bringing in some more equipment this weekend, bringing another product line in and things. So they're experimenting. They're trying different things. They're really learning on the fly. Because these really are all new beginner vendors, except for myself and Casey. And I think that's it, yeah. We're the only two that have basically some experience in business. The others are all really starting off. So we've got a good group of folks. We've been meeting once a month. We've been all helping each other. We've been offering advice to each other. We're doing more advertising. We have a budget for that this year. So things are really up and up.
That's great.
I don't want to brag, but it's going really well.
That's great. It's really encouraging. It's among the reasons why I would support an expansion, because it feels like the cross-pollination between all these different stores. Some of them have their own followings, but then others are going to go to other stores next to them. Just to have 4 more is that many more connections to make. So I absolutely would support it.
Exactly. And just a little discussion about the 4 remainings. We did consider 2 shops and then 2 spots for pop-up vendors. In our meeting last week with the owners, to my surprise, they all wanted permanent vendors there from week to week, not pop-up vendors, which was a surprise, but it made sense. And when I started thinking about it, it really made sense because it is a destination point with a variety of shops. If we want a pop-up vendor, we've got the farmers market for them. So it's a win-win there, too. So I believe that going with the 12 shops is the right way to go.
Alderman Ur?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be supportive of it as well. I mean, it's obvious that it's an investment that's going to pay back. I mean, seeing those numbers from the first 8 days is fantastic, and not that I necessarily expect that to continue, but every time I go by there on a weekend, it looks like that is continuing, so I'd be supportive of this investment. That's the way I look at it.
Anybody else? Well, as most of you remember, I was a skeptical voice in this idea when it was first proposed here. Certainly, I have been made a true believer after I've seen what has taken place there and what has been successfully put on the street. I mean, I would describe this as a motion or a movement maker for Batavia. It is something that, as Alderman Callahan has already shared, I had the experience in the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning where I was with a bunch of mayors with masks on, and I had 5 of them figure out who I was and come and ask me about when it was open and could they arrange to have me meet them there or someday or whatever the issue was. And they're very interested in it. And they said they were looking around, they couldn't find any place else in Chicagoland this had been done. So we are truly the pioneer in retailing with the boardwalk shops. And the name is very catchy. And I had one of the mayors ask me, is somebody in this group from Atlantic City, New Jersey? And I said, no, I don't think so. I don't know if I've been there, but I don't think there's many people from Batavia that have ever been to Atlantic City, which has the boardwalk. And I said, it's just a very catchy name. It works quite well, and it's really caught on. So I certainly would be also in support of us funding this and moving forward with it. I'd entertain a motion from somebody if they care to make it.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Chanzit, second by Alderman Callahan. Any further discussion?
Where would we identify as the source of the funding? So right now, what we've been using for the prior funding was the grants that had previously come from the state program that had then gone defunct, and they said the city of Batavia could use that money any way they wanted, and we had put that to the side for economic development, and it was $296,000. And so the first grant was for $110,000, and then we have used approximately $40,000 of that money also for the gateway improvement grants, and we've used $27,000 of that money for the COVID relief grants. So we do have still sufficient left in that fund that we could apply toward this. It would take away from what's remaining for the COVID relief grants, and/or that was kind of ported over from the gateway improvement grants. So between the two, we could find the 32 requested.
That was going to be my question, was where the money was going to come from. And I'm okay with it if there's still sufficient funds in that to use that, because I feel like this is economic development money that we really have already seen some results from. I mean, it hasn't paid it back, but the results are there. And if businesses are already looking at regular brick and mortar space in town, I think that's really where we want this to go, is to be able to move these through there into regular retail outlets in town. So I think that to me is easily to justify, using economic development money for.
Alderman Callahan?
Yeah, going back to the prior discussions that we had on the initial allocation of the 110, when it was first 100, then 110, I think we always knew that half was going to be for other things and about half because we still knew that 4 still needed to be created at some point, and we kind of earmarked about 150 is what we were thinking towards this entire project. So at least I've been assuming that this is where the money would come from.
Yeah, and we've already started Phase 2. The Main Street Board approved last month $5,000 to build the 4 decks where the pop-up vendors are going at the rest of this year. So Main Street invested $5,000 just to get the project going. We're actually at $104,200 or something at this point. So I haven't factored in all of that into the 32 yet, but again, the 32 is max. I'll ask for probably increments of $8,000 or $10,000 at a time, and it'll depend on donations and things like that as things come in. I would like to make sure, we've gotten a little bit of a bad rap at times from some people who don't know all the details about this, so if we can just reemphasize that it's not tax dollar money going towards us, I'd appreciate that.
Any other discussion? We have a motion and second then for the authorization of the $32,000 for the addition for the 4 boardwalk shops. Clerk, call the roll.
Chansett.
Aye.
Wolf.
Aye.
Barron.
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Callahan.
Aye.
Meitzler.
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
Ewer.
Aye.
Saron.
Aye.
McFadden.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Rosado.
Aye.
Beck.
Aye.
Knopp.
Aye.
Motion is approved, 14 yes, no no's, none absent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for all you do, and you and Jamie and Sherry and everybody else. That's what really made this shine, so thank you very much. Okay, we're going to skip over for the moment item 10, and we're going to go to, per the action of the council and the agenda setup, we're going to go to item number 11, which is Resolution 20-087R, awarding a gateway improvement grant funds to Frank Giampoli's law office at 428 South Batavia Avenue. Who's got this one?
I'm going to have
I'll take it.
Nick take this one.
Alderman Callahan?
Yeah, I'm going to take this one just because at the committee meeting, I handled it while he was on vacation. It's kind of a no-brainer. It got full support from the committee to support this gateway improvement program, signage and landscaping that we will pay half of the funds for, and it was got full support from the committee. So I don't know if there's he's not here, is he?
No.
I don't know if Laura, you wanted to add anything or whatnot, but it was
No, I mean, I
Pretty
think it's a
straightforward.
classic example of exactly what the gateway improvement grants were meant for properties which are adjacent to our TIF district, so they're not eligible for the TIF type of grants that we have, but they are along the pathways into the heart of our downtown. And we want to encourage property owners to do projects that make that entryway look as great as it can look, and Frank's project is one of those. It really is a very nice-looking sign, and he tried to make it complementary to what was happening directly next door to him, too. So really, kudos for a project that he's really thinking about Batavia and not just his own business.
Nick.
Anybody have questions?
I think just as Bob had pointed out, this is out of the same bucket that is not coming from taxpayer dollars. It's from federal grant out of the same 296.
That is correct.
So we've been spreading that as equitably and with a lot of growth as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
Any other discussion?
With that, I would make a motion to approve Resolution 20-087-R, awarding Gateway Improvement Program grant funds to Frank Giampoli Law Offices, tenant at 428 South Batavia Avenue.
Second.
Motion and second by Alderman Callahan. Any
Roll
further
call.
discussion? Clerk call the roll.
Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Knopf,
Aye.
Chanzit,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay, Ewer.
Aye.
So that's approved. 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Okay, moving to item number 12, which is ordinance 20-38, amending the text of the zoning code for cannabis establishments in employment districts. Who's got this one?
I do, Your Honor.
Callahan?
Thank you. This was back in March, the Committee of the Whole sent to the Planning and Zoning Committee some discussion for reexamination of cannabis business establishments in the employment district. As they had their meeting, they came out with several recommendations, and at the Committee of the Whole last week, we made some revisions to the setbacks and regarding the CBEs not located on arterials or strategic regional roadways. Does anyone have any questions? I believe all the discussion points that we had last week are included in the latest agenda item.
Any discussion? Alderman Callahan?
I move we approve ordinance 20-38, amending the text of the zoning code for cannabis establishments in the employment districts.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Callahan, second by Alderman Saron for the approval of ordinance 20-38, amending the text of the zoning code for cannabis establishments in employment districts. Any further discussion?
I think it should be pointed out, this is not related and does not have any bearing as regarding the recreational sale and consumption within the city of Batavia. That'll still be related to the upcoming referendum.
Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Knopf,
Aye.
Chanzit,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
O'Brien.
Aye.
Ordinance 20-38 is approved by a vote of 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Okay, moving to 13, which is Resolution 20-091-R, authorizing purchase of one 2020 Ford 150 truck from Morrow Brothers Ford for the amount of $28,670. Who's got this one? Alderman Wolf.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is for replacement of one truck that was totaled earlier this year. Basically, that truck was scheduled to be replaced next year, so this is just pushing it forward a year because of the accident totaling the truck. And with that, the payout from the insurance will actually go towards this truck. So if anybody has any questions, if not, I'll make the motion that we approve Resolution 20-91-R, authorizing purchase of the 2020 Ford F-150 from Morrow Brothers Ford of Greenfield, Illinois, for $28,670.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Wolf, second by Alderman Miller, or Rosato. These masks, it's hard to tell who's doing what here. Any further discussion on that? Clerk, call the roll.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Knopf,
Aye.
Chanzit.
Aye.
Motion's approved, 14 yes, no no's, none absent. Okay, moving then to item 14, which is Resolution 20-92-R, authorizing execution of a contract for the 2020 street resurfacing program with Builders Paving LLC in the amount not to exceed $1,522,500, which includes bid price plus 5% contingency amount, and adopt IDOT Resolution BLRB 142020 form to appropriate $1,475,500 from the state motor fuel tax fund. Who's got this one?
I've
Alderman
got that
Wolf?
one, Your Honor. Thank you. This is a contract for the resurfacing program for the city for this year. It's a total of 6.57 miles, 113,500 square yards of blacktop. The program here this year, we do have, I think it was 47,000 of the block grant funds also included in this. And there's a list within the memo here that details all the streets that it's on. So if anybody wants to look at that, they can look at that on the city website if they're watching tonight. I don't think there's anything else that I need to add on that. Do we need to have two separate motions for this to adopt that IDOT thing, or is it all just included in one motion?
I think it's all included in one,
Okay.
but Gary's here.
Yeah, one, you can't do
Yes,
one
one is
without the
fine.
other.
Right, but I don't know, sometimes we have to do them separate. I just
Right.
wanted to know if it would. we need to
All
do
in
it
one
separate.
is fine.
Okay, well then I'm just gonna make it easy here and I'll say, make the motion that we approve resolution 20-92-R, authorizing execution of the contract for the 2020 street resurfacing program with builders in the amount not to exceed $1,522,500, which includes 5% contingency amount, and adopt the IDOT resolution BLRB 14220 form to appropriate $1,475,500 from the state motor fuel tax fund.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Wolf, second by Alderman Callahan for the approval of Resolution 20-092-R for the street improvement program. Any further discussion? Clerk, call the roll, please.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
McFadden. McFadden. Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Beck,
Aye.
Knopp,
Aye.
Chanzit.
So we only got 13 votes on that because one
No vote for McFadden.
slipped off the radio.
Yeah, I'm sorry. My
So we got
audio cut out.
Okay,
as
thank
the
you.
vote was coming. I'm an aye.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And
Okay,
Debbie, I'll hang up now and join you in a little bit.
all right, very good, thank you. I was just going to announce that we were going to remove ourselves back to what was shown as item 10 on our agenda, which is the approval to waive the annual liquor license renewal fee for 2020. And obviously, Alderman Beck is a license holder, so she had to remove herself from that and the next item of business too. So she's temporarily left the meeting while these two items are acted upon. So who would like to present the item of waiving the annual liquor tax renewal fees for 2020?
I have.
Alderman-
Sure. So in committee, we discussed that the city takes in around $75,000 in liquor license fees annually. And given COVID, we saw this as an opportunity to help some of our local business owners with their bottom line. This is waiving fees through an application process. It is not an absolute, not automatic. The expectation is that the smaller businesses are more likely to apply for this than larger corporations are. And we did talk about funding this through COVID relief money, which is yet to be distributed by the county. Laura, did I leave anything out?
Yes, no,
Good.
perfect.
Okay. Is there any additional discussion? Otherwise, I would make a
I
motion
have
that.
I had a question about using this money. We're going to end up with approximately $75,000 hole in our budget.
Up to.
Up to, yes, if everyone decides to do it. And using the COVID for relief funding to plug that gap, whatever that gap's going to be. Is is the money coming from the COVID relief funding applicable to cover these license fees? That's
Yes,
my
so the county is going with the U.S. Treasury Department's definition of how these funds may be used. You may have heard that the state funding that is being distributed by the state to municipalities will not cover the expense of small business assistance. However, Kane County, in their distribution rules, is including small business economic assistance as a coverable expense. But I also, want to make it clear that the biggest bucket of expense that the city has in covered expenses is public safety salaries. And the CARES Act money, because it would be impossible to determine what portion of your payroll expenses were attributable to COVID in the arena of public safety, they merely say that just all of those payroll expenses are coverable expenses. Under the current formula, the city of Batavia is expected to receive a little bit more than $2 million based on what formula that they have devised on a per capita basis. But if you look at what our payroll expenses were for public safety, just from March through the end of May, were about $2 million. So these are meant to cover from March 1st to December 31st, and that's more like a $4 million expense that we would incur for all of our public safety. But you look at it in terms also of what has been, our incremental expense to public safety this year, and ways that we can utilize, and by we, I mean all of you making a policy decision as to how those funds should be applied. You've got far more than the money that we will receive will cover, and yet you could choose to use that funding for other things like this, because it is a covered expense.
Other questions? Alderman Callahan?
Yeah, I missed the last meeting being out, and that was one of my questions. So it appears that while it is a reimbursable under the federal grant funds, that the need for that money for our public safety salaries would be much more pressing and would use up all of that money. I think I would not have had a problem with if it was being reimbursed under grant funding. If we wanted to carve out $75,000 and say the small businesses licensure is more important than or as equal to public safety salaries, if we choose to do that, to be reimbursable under that, then it is what it is. But I think if it's not reimbursable, at the beginning of the year, we set a budget, and it's X dollars. We've already had several items this year that have been over that have already increased our budget out of pocket, and we need ideas as to how to fund that. This is a well-intentioned, but at the same time, possibly a little misplaced, because then that 70,000 that we're already taking out of the budgeted and the unintended has to be made up somewhere. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. Something has to be cut to make up for that 75,000, or other people, property owners, businesses, will have to make up the business expenses for another entity. When you start weighing around the fairness of that, who's not suffering right now? Everyone is. So if we start waiving permits for liquor establishments, do we waive permits to the person who can't afford to have their water heater replaced? Those are all value judgments that we as a community can make, but there are also no conditions that Walmart and Target, being licensed, that they would, we can say that we would hope they wouldn't, but as the PPE and everything else is shown, if there is money out there to assist small corporations or big corporations, they're going to take it. So I can't put the residents that I support to subsidize a large Walmart or Walgreens or even Target for them to have the ability to sell liquor.
Yeah, I thought about this the more. I originally voted yes, but I'm having second thoughts about it for a lot of reasons that Marty said. And I know some of the hope was, yeah, maybe a big business wouldn't do it, but I think if you looked at a company that has, I mean, Walmart has like 10,000 stores or whatever it is, and if every community was giving them $1,000, it'd be silly not to accept $1,000 from every community, and the person in charge of that would probably be fired if they didn't take advantage of it. And I think it's we're picking and choosing who we want to succeed by doing that, and saying, okay, we're going to give them the benefit here, and I'm not trying to be business unfriendly. I'm trying to be equally friendly to everybody, and it's to give a benefit to one and not to everybody doesn't make sense to me.
The argument that I made in committee that I'll make again tonight was, as a banker with friends in the industry, half the jobs in the hospitality industry are gone. These businesses are hurting tremendously. A lot of people are hurting. Friends of mine are hurting. Family members are hurting. This particular industry hit very, very, very bad. Giving them a break, throwing them a bone is not a tremendous amount of money. I hope it doesn't make or break some of these businesses, but as I said in committee, if these businesses are not around next year to apply for the license, then that is problematic too. So it feels like just a very small lifeline. Doesn't feel like that out of line here. That's why I'm still going to support this.
Your Honor?
Alderman Wolf?
I would also agree with Alderman Jansen. I mean, my fear from the beginning of this is that industry, especially not the packaged goods dealers, but the restaurants, the bars, I really feel like we're going to lose 20-30% of those anyway, no matter if we do this or not. And I really feel like, Dan's statement right there that said, if we don't help them or we don't give them some help, that they're not going to be here next year. And then that revenue is not going to be there anyway. So that's still why I feel like I need to support this, because I feel like whatever we can do to help these businesses, we've done a lot to try to, drive people downtown when it's been possible, provide areas where they can, support their businesses outside, or ways they can set up drive-throughs, whatever it is to make those businesses survive this, benefits us into the future. So I look at this as more of an investment in trying to keep some of these businesses open.
Laura?
I guess my comment was very similar to that. How are the needs of this particular part of our community different? One of the ways that they're different is that they generate revenue. So this is our business establishments that are generating liquor tax revenue to us. And if we can keep some of the smaller businesses in business, I know that, for a restaurant, it's like a $1,500 expense, and for a packaged liquor place, it's like an $1,800 expense. But to some right now, that makes all the difference. So it was just, it made me feel more comfortable about it that Heggie, our finance director, felt very comfortable about it in that regard as well, that it was helping out a segment of our community that was a revenue-generating segment of our community.
Just also to add, as I mentioned in committee too, there are two industries that are up right now during COVID. It is the home improvement industry and it is the liquor store packaged industry that is doing actually quite well right now. if we don't feel comfortable moving forward with this, if we peeled that off, I'm curious if anybody else would feel more comfortable in this. It's saving a little bit of money, but putting the money in the industries where it is servers, it is bartenders, it is restaurant owners that have a liquor license. Those are the ones that are hurting the most from this particular item that could be given a grant.
So you're saying remove the liquor stores and Target and Walmart?
If this is going to fail tonight, then yes, I would say remove the packaged liquor and leave it with, I can't tip a bartender right now. I can't tip a waiter right now. That's the business that is hurting the most of the people who could apply for grants. So if that would save it, I would peel that off.
You make that a motion?
Not yet.
What'd you say?
Not yet.
I understand the sentiments because it would prevent the jewel and the large package liquor. We have small package
I get
liquor
that.
as well. And that's one of the things we discussed as staff was if you were going to just pick certain licenses, which ones would you choose? Because you do have retail establishments where liquor sales is a very small part of what they do. But you also have some entertainment businesses who have interior of their place is the biggest place where they get business from, and they haven't been able to have any of that business, and they have liquor licenses too.
Sure.
So it makes it hard to pick and choose.
I understand. I don't want the thing to crash and burn.
No,
When it comes down to it, and I will tell you, across the board, speaking anecdotally with my peers,
Yes.
the packaged liquor, even the ma and pa packaged liquor places are still doing okay.
Yeah.
Comparatively.
Alderman Callahan?
For me, it only goes back to, you have to step back out of the trying to do good on the side of, which I completely 100% understand, because we're trying to make sure that other businesses survive. We were just talking about giving more money to the entities that we are trying to create businesses. We are trying to retain businesses. But when we have a budget that was counting on that $75,000, we either need to make a corresponding cut so that it's a wash, or identify another funding source where that money comes from.
So we currently have $450,000 worth of general fund expenses that were budgeted for 2020 that have been placed on hold. And then another $5 million of capital expenses that were similarly put on hold. And that is on July 28th is when we're going to have our mid-year meeting to look at, do we still want to put those things on hold? Or are there some things that are on that list that we want to move forward with? So maybe this discussion is better postponed until after you take a look at that. I don't know.
It certainly is a larger issue, and I'm glad you bring that up. I've already asked to restore some of those funds
Right.
for a study for something in my particular ward. So I
Right.
absolutely respect that. If it makes sense to send this back to committee for further discussion, I'm open to that as well.
But Laura, what will this do with the state licenses? Because don't they need their city licenses in order to get the state license?
I'm glad that
also?
you brought that up, Alderman Barron. I was unaware, but in investigating it after the COW meeting, I discovered that the state of Illinois has waived the licenses for 2020 as well. So they do not need their local license in order to get their state license, because all of the state licenses have been pushed to December 31st. It is not true?
Use the mic.
There's a state order that says that they're all extended to December 31st. Okay. So there seems to be some, well, I'll have to verify that again too. Roman, by any chance, that's not something you know?
No, off the top of my head.
Okay.
We can look into that.
So help me to understand the $4 million, what you talk about the public safety salaries between now and December, the $4 million. That's budgeted anyways.
Exactly.
So essentially, this $2 million that we'd be getting back, that we would earmark from that, would take that $2 million pressure off of the salaries.
Yes.
So instead of having a $4 million budget, we would only be paying $2 million.
Right. Now, that is not to say that there have not been overages from what was expected before COVID hit, because we had to make adjustments to the way that we schedule our officers. You know, we changed over to 12-hour shifts. And so there is some overtime
Do we
associated with
think it's
that.
50%?
No, I do not think it's 50%.
Okay. Because essentially, that's what we'd be saving is 50%
Right.
of the salaries.
So what's our pleasure?
Anybody on the phone want to say anything?
Does anyone on the phone want to chime in?
This is Drew. I'll chime in. I think I agree with you and Alan that this is an investment to protect future revenue streams by doing what we can to help these businesses out. So I would support this.
Anybody else on the phone?
I too would support this. And this is Tony. I too support it.
With that, then, if there's no additional discussion, I would make a motion that we approve waiving the annual liquor license fees for 2020.
Second.
Moved by Alderman Chanzit, second by Alderman Wolf, for the approval of item 10 on our agenda, waiving the annual liquor license renewal fees for 2020. Any other discussion? Clerk, call the roll.
Chanzit,
Aye.
Wolf,
Aye.
Barron,
Aye.
O'Brien,
Aye.
Callahan,
No.
Meitzler,
No.
Malay,
Aye.
Ewer,
No.
Saron,
No.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
No.
Rosato,
Aye.
Knopf.
No.
It's 7 yes, 6 no.
Is that approved then? 7 yes, 6 no? Okay.
And I am looking at the Illinois Liquor Commission, updated as of June 26th, 2020. And they are not required to renew until the end of the year. So that was just June 26th. Okay, well, that was probably the difference, Bob, sorry.
Okay. Okay, then,
Credit for ours, too.
that one's approved by a vote of 7 yes, 6 no, 1 abstention, 1 absent, rather. Moving then to 15, which is ordinance 20-43, limiting the number of video gaming sites in the city of Batavia. Who's got this one?
I do.
Alderman Chanzit?
Your Honor, we discussed this pretty extensively in committee. We talked about the number of licenses that exist and a philosophy issue on whether or not we are trying to land the plane on this to ultimately someday prohibit this type of activity in town. After some pretty extensive discussion, we did not have a yes or a no. It came out tied, but we were missing one person. So I guess I would open it up if there's any additional discussion or if anyone has had any additional time to think about this issue and change their mind.
Yeah, based on some conversations that I've had over the last couple of weeks, some other questions came up, so I'd like to make a motion that we move this back to committee of the whole to discuss further.
To send it back to committee?
Yes.
Sure, I would second that.
We have a motion and second to refer this back to the committee of the whole meeting. Any discussion on that?
I guess I would just add the discussion was very, very good, and I'm looking forward to talking more about this.
Clerk, call the roll on the motion to send it back to committee.
Ewer,
Aye.
Saron,
Aye.
McFadden,
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Rosato,
Aye.
Knopf.
Aye.
Chanzit,
Aye.
Wolf,
No.
Barron,
Aye.
O'Brien,
No.
Callahan,
Aye.
Meitzler,
Aye.
Malay.
Aye.
11 yes, 2 no.
Okay, let's refer back to committee of the whole. All right, going to 16, the administrator's report. Laura?
Yes, I just wanted to point out to folks, we've been talking tonight about how you can go to the website and look up the maps. We were talking when we were doing the road program discussion. And so I just wanted to show people that from our homepage, let me get to the homepage. People are probably getting dizzy with me clicking around on this screen here. At the bottom of the homepage, you'll see a link for city maps. And there is a wealth of information here. You can find out about our current capital improvement programs and where those are happening, our historic district, different development projects that we have underway. There's a map of downtown Batavia parking that shows you where parking spaces are available in our downtown and for how many hours you can park there. One showing TIF district maps. If you want to know what ward you are located in and who your alderman is and the contact information for your alderman, you can use that ward map. If you are thinking of starting a business in this community, the zoning map is a very important one for you to determine whether that business is able to be located there. But the one that we talked about tonight was the capital improvements map. And here are all of the different capital improvement types of projects that we have going on. And you can select which one you want to see and the streets that are affected by that particular type of project will pop up there for you. So you can see if your street is one of those that is planned to be resurfaced this year. So I just thought I wanted to show that to people because it's a really nice tool that we have available. Another tool that we have available here in the city that I think is really important right now during COVID is 211. And I really want to talk about that from time to time because I know that with the 13% unemployment in our area, that there are people who are really struggling right now and they may not know who to call for resources. But our Batavia United Way started a program a couple of years ago to bring 211 to our area. 211 is who you call when maybe you don't know who to call. You need food, you need shelter, perhaps you need some type of medical attention and you don't exactly know who to call. Maybe it's that your parents are getting up in years and are starting to become unable to care for themselves and you just want to figure out what resources that they can provide to you. Maybe you're having trouble paying your utility bills or paying your rent. This is one place that you can call and get directed to services. It'll help you in cases where either you or a family member have substance abuse problems and you want to get help. It'll assist you if you are in a situation where you feel unsafe in your home because of domestic violence. 211. It's just 3 numbers that you have to remember and you can call for help. A few other things that we wanted to mention is that Finance is working on a new software system called Paymentus. It's going to help us improve our utility billing online payment and presentment for residents. So we have already started to promote the capabilities of this system, and we hope to have it be fully functional sometime in August. The software actually has the capability to offer payment plans. So in the event that people have been having trouble paying their utility bills, we'll be able to utilize the Paymentus system to help set them up on payment plans so that they can become current. Another great thing about this Paymentus system is that community development is able to use it to collect online payments for permits. So we are working through the details on that, but the nice thing about that is that Somebody can apply for and make payments for their permits 24/7. You know, you don't have to do it during normal business hours. In community and economic development, just wanted to report that we have provided 19 outdoor dining licenses for businesses in Batavia, which is really just great. We continue to work on various aspects of the One Washington Place development project, including zoning approvals, the redevelopment agreement, revision and creation of a new TIF 6 to assist with this development. We also have had discussions with a few possible developers for new buildings in the Northeast Industrial Park. These are kind of preliminary discussions, and nothing formal has been submitted as of yet, but in an industrial park where there is very little open space left, we're continuing to receive proposals to fill that. And just maybe on some housekeeping notes, no brush pickup until August. During the summertime, when we have large fluctuations in the temperature, one thing to let you know is that when it gets very hot and humid, as it did over this past weekend, that City Hall is used as a cooling center. If you want to come here to cool off during those hot days, we just ask that you check in on the weekend, check in with the police department. During the week, check in with the receptionist who is located on the second floor. And if you see a weather alert that thunderstorms are coming, we ask that you maybe check if there are storm drains that are located near your house to make sure that those are clear of brush, so that when we have a tremendous rainfall in a short period of time like we did on Sunday, that water can get moving to where it should be. And then also just a last message is not to discharge grass clippings into the road. You don't think about it. You think, oh, the street sweeper will come sometime and sweep all that up and take it away. But fresh grass clippings and a little bit of rain create an incredibly dangerous situation, especially for motorcycles and bicyclists in the road. It's very slick condition. So we just ask for your help in directing your grass clippings into your yard instead. And other than that, if anybody has any questions for me, have to answer.
To piggyback on the commercial for 211, I'm not sure if you saw, since the last time we met, the National Suicide Hotline has been designated that three-digit number. But the other number, 800-273-8255, the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, in 2 years from now, just 988.
Wonderful.
Hey, Laura, this is Michael.
Yes.
Hey, can you update the council on the liquidated damages for the wastewater treatment project with Williams Brothers?
Sure. So we are kind of at an impasse in terms of our negotiations with Williams Brothers. They are making the claim that there were delays that were caused by the city that should have sort of stopped the clock on their delays that resulted in the project not coming to a closure when it should have, and they allege should absolve them of those liquidated damages. The city has hired a consultant to review the construction schedule and give us an opinion as to the validity of that claim. So that's kind of where things stand right now. The consultant has all of the information that they need to perform the analysis at this point, and so I would expect that within the next couple of weeks that they'll report their findings back to us, and we can present that to Williams Brothers.
Laura, who is the construction specialist or analyst?
Trying to think of name. I'll have that for you in just a second, Mike.
Okay.
The name is Kenrich Group.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions of Laura? Thank you. Moving then to 17 committee reports, government services, Alderman Chanzit.
Nothing to report, Your Honor.
City Services, Alderman Wolf.
Nothing to report, Laura. Got all my thunder on the cleanup in the street and everything, so
Sorry.
thank you.
Community Development, Alderman Callahan.
Nothing to report.
Public Utilities, Alderman O'Brien.
Nothing to report, Your Honor.
All right, moving into other business. Do we have any other business, Alderman Callahan?
I received a call from a woman that lives in the Federation part of Woodland, which is near the Merlot baseball field with Batavia Youth parking, Batavia Youth baseball, and has a lot of concerns with parking in that area. Concerns specifically related to police or an ambulance or a fire truck being able to get down there at time to time. It appears that the success of the Batavia Youth baseball has grown and is starting to have people park on people's driveways, people's lawns. It's a very tight area anyways, and a lot of it, mostly all of it except for Merlot, is unincorporated and in the township. Even when I solicited a join the city, it was refused. They like their independence over there. I had sent this to Laura and Alan, and Laura, you had said that we had an agreement with Batavia Youth Baseball. Does it cover parking? Is there
Yes.
anything that we need to address?
No, if you look at the baseball field when it is empty, you will see telephone poles, just large timbers. There is a small parking lot adjacent to the fields. Those timbers were meant to designate that the Batavia Youth Baseball must park within, between the timber and their fields. And my own observation a couple of weekends ago was that that was not being followed. And so we will address that with them and make sure that they restrict their parking as it is in our prior agreements, as well as, make sure that we bring that agreement up to date as well.
Yeah, you had said that even driving here tonight, I noticed it was kind of packed, and that is the
Yes.
concern, that the neighborhood loves it, but is it starting to become too big for where it's an intended use, which is a good thing that kids are still using baseball.
Absolutely. But it perhaps is outgrowing that space. And as well, that we will have a need to expand our cemetery. Right now, part of the expenses that are being put on hold is the installation of the columbarium that we've been talking about installing that columbarium since I started here with the city, like with the 2017 budget. So we really would love to move forward with that because there's a need for it. It is a very popular type of burial that people are seeking right now. But we also have this donation that is from a Batavian who passed away and wanted money to be used toward the West Side Cemetery, and that would be such a nice use for that. But part of our discussions with Batavia Youth Baseball will be that in prior times, we've extended a 10-year contract. I think we may need to be talking about a shorter contract with them, with the idea that in that period of time, maybe they can look for a more appropriately sized space to locate.
And if in the meantime, we can have someone contact Batavia Youth Baseball,
Absolutely.
just let them reiterate that we're trying to be good neighbors
Yes.
with the residents in that area. Even though they're not in the city of Batavia, they considered themselves Batavia residents
Sure.
and just want to make sure that they have life safety issues.
Happy to do that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things I noticed when I went down to look to see what was, the amount of cars were there, I think a lot of the cars are all single families or single people bringing kids there because they're not carpooling anymore.
Right.
They're all coming separately.
Right.
So I think that has also been part of why there's so many more cars down there.
Yeah.
But definitely they have to do something so that they don't block the street.
Interesting conversation. I'm sure that one could go on for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, anybody else on the council got any other business? All right, under the mayor's report, I just got a couple things. I just want to kind of reiterate a couple of things I said. If you watch my weekly report about the Corona era, this past one I did, 2 points I made was, I experienced last week the phenomena that many of my peers in the Chicagoland region have also experienced, and that's people turning on the Chicago TV news and watching it, and watching that the mayor of Chicago, whoever he or she is also in charge of the school system. And I guess if you've lived someplace else and you just moved in here for the first time, you suddenly turn that on and think, oh, gee, I don't like what the school district's doing. I'm going to call the mayor because he's in charge of the school system. Well, under Illinois law, the only mayor in the entire state of Illinois that has control over their school system is the mayor of the city of Chicago. And the rest of us are totally outside the agenda on that. And in the case of Batavia specifically, as is most every other city around us, their school district is run by a school board of 7 publicly elected people who, in my observation in Batavia, they do a very good job of running it, and they're making the decisions. And right now, there's quite a bit of controversy going on about attendance and the Corona issue and its impact and whatever. And I have to suggest to people that want to send me an email or whatever that you got the wrong person here, that the mayor doesn't have any power, ability, or control over actions of the school district. So I just wanted to publicly state that here, because that's one that's, I'm sure some of you may have had somebody in your ward ask you about it, because there's a lot of people very antsy about the schools right now, and I can understand that, and I'm interested in to hear what they have to say, but at the end of the day, this group here and myself have nothing to say about agendas or curriculum or teachers or schedules or bus stops, or there's a whole bunch of questions that people have about that. The other thing I wanted to share is that we had an incident last week in Batavia that involved our police department, and I think the police department did a very, very nice job. Kind of in a nutshell, what happened was we had some gentlemen go over into DuPage County, and apparently they stole themselves a car. And the car that they stole had a satellite transponder on it. And so they start on their way back from DuPage County. Apparently they picked up some friends, and they brought them to Batavia. And they decided they were going to stop for something to eat out on Randall Road in Batavia. And suddenly the Batavia Police Department gets a call from DuPage County saying, our transponder that we're chasing this car that's been stolen over here is sitting at this point in Batavia. Would you please go out and secure the car and restrain anybody that's there till we can get out there? So as good servants, we responded out. We pull into this restaurant, and apparently some of the folks in the restaurant may have been in the back, they were in the car, may have been in the restroom or something. So the driver of the car decides that, oh, here comes the Batavia police, let me get out of here. So he went flying out of this restaurant, made, I guess, quite a scene. He got over on Randall Road, he crossed over there in a huff and went over into the residential areas west of Randall Road. And that ended up being quite a little, we did not, as I understand it, give actual chase to this vehicle at any one time, because it was a very busy period of time. There was a lot of cars in the street, a lot of people out walking, and we were very concerned about somebody driving reckless. But we knew where this car was going, because the satellite transponder was telling DUCOM, and they were telling us what was happening. So as things began to continue to emerge, suddenly, apparently, some of the people in the car got nervous that they thought Batavia was onto them. So some of them exited the car and started hiking themselves through neighborhoods west of Randall Road. And eventually, I think they themselves figured out, this car's got something wrong with it. There's too many cops here, and they're sealing me down here, and let's just get out of this car. So they all got out of the car. Well, then the next thing that had to happen was we had a call for some support from outside agencies to bring in dogs to scent this car up and then go out and try to find these folks, which I led to believe they were all done. Nobody got hurt. Nobody got anything other than they were all eventually captured. And meantime, there's all these residents, many of whom showed up at City Hall the next morning, all excited about what had happened. And Mary up at the top of the desk says, "My goodness gracious, what happened here last night? I'm getting calls and people are coming into the desk." So then I went over to McDonald's and I got hit right between the eyes with it by people. Is there any danger here? Did anything happen? You know, et cetera. And I came back and talked to the police administration, and they were quite honestly working with the investigation. There was a lot going on. There were a lot of moving parts, and they didn't really want to publicly talk too much about it because, number one, it wasn't our offense. They were just assisting another agency, and this all ended up in Batavia. But I guess at the end of the day, Laura and I have talked about this, and we're going to talk to the police department about trying to work out some type of at least cursory communication, maybe on the computer or whatever, to people in town when something like this is going down, that, you know, don't get all excited and, you know, get your gun out or whatever because stuff is happening. But this one really did get some people worked up. And I think some of you as aldermen, especially on the west side, you may have heard about this. I don't know if you have or not, but it certainly was a live piece of conversation down here for a day or two as people were trying to figure out what we were doing, especially when we brought the dogs in. The dogs really got the attention of everybody because you don't see, you know, the dogs chasing through the yards with the officer behind them and the whole bit very often. And so that really got people worked up. And I just wanted all of you to know it all ended up fine. The guilty have been charged, and it's not our case. We were just an assistant, but it was something that happened, and it got widespread publicity. So I just wanted to share all that with you as to what went on, and we're going to try to enhance communication with the police in the future on a similar incident like this in case something does happen, so that we have to be very, very careful, though. As all of you know, we have this Health Information Personal Privacy Act that's out there, and that gets me into the next thing I just wanted to share with you. I talked to Chief Dykey at the end of June, which was half the year, and for the first half of this year, the Batavia Fire Department ambulance responded on average 7 times a day. And sometimes we had as many as 15 to 20 calls, and sometimes we were lower. But our ambulance business is definitely on the increase, and we are getting more and more calls. As you know, we have an ambulance in both the east and the west side stations, fully manned by 2 paramedics, and we have the ability to, with the cross utilization that we have with Geneva and St. Charles, because we all pay for the same service out of the same contract, we now have 6 ambulances between the 3 towns, so we can get backups, or we can go back them up, or however it works. So we're not short ambulances or anything, but we are working them quite actively, and that probably has become maybe the busiest city service we got as far as the amount of time that people are out spending the time. And then the other issue you have to appreciate is from the fire department side, you know, this corona thing is big with them, and every time they go out, they got to bring that ambulance and all that equipment back, and then the first thing they got to do is desensitize all that equipment and scrub it down and change things and clean it up and whatever. So every one of those calls is probably a 45-minute cleanup after it's over with, just to get everything back into the same solid sanitary state that it was supposed to be when they went out. So, you know, that's one of the spin-offs of this whole thing with Corona, and I did a thing for the Historical Society. They're doing an interview of this event in Batavia, and they've talked to a number of people. Laura's talked to them, I've talked to them. They've talked to the school, the library, and the park district, and everybody's contributing to this because they want to create a video about an hour that they can then put in permanent record, so that if 100 or 50 years from now something happens, there'll be this record that they can go back and people can look at what was done in this year as far as how we handled something like this. So we're making a little history here today, I guess, is the point that I want to make. We've got a lot of kindness being shown in Batavia right now. We've got a lot of people that are trying to do something to be a productive contributor and helper and supporter of what's happening, and sometimes we can help them out, and sometimes they've got ideas that we really can't support or facilitate. I'm sure some of you have heard some of this. Right now we got several people that are wanting to build more tables or picnic tables or stuff to enhance the downtown area. And so it's very nice, and we're trying to work with them to see if we can find some place for them to go with it, or how they're going to do it, or whatever. But it's good, I think, from the human spirit perspective, that Batavia's got so many people in this town that are willing to step up and say, well, this is a kind of an interesting time, and the world's at great odds with itself, and I need to step in and do my contribution here in some form or fashion. And I want to tell you that is really alive and well in Batavia right now. I'm very, very proud of Batavia from that perspective, because we do have people stepping up and saying, what can we do to help? What can we do to, make things better? And, one of the starships in this whole thing has been the senior living communities that we have in Batavia. And if you look at our number, and it's published every week in the paper as to how many corona cases we've got, I think last week it was maybe 158. And our numbers, for all intent and purposes, for the full city in Kane County, we're the lowest number in the county as far as, and then there's some of our other cities around us that numbers blow my socks off when I read them, how many they gotten. And with all these senior living communities we've had here, I would think that we could have been very susceptible to having a big spread of corona, but our people in these senior living communities really jumped on top of it, really kept the door shut, really protected the people, got the masks out, the social distancing fully understood, and we've really gone forward with that. And I guess the final thing I wanted to share is, again, kind of in the disputed arena, there's a group of folks out there that would have asked me in written form and all kinds of different forms that they'd like to have me as the mayor issue some kind of order telling everybody they didn't have to wear any masks anymore, and that that I should go out to Target and Walmart and Jewel and Walgreens and wherever else it is, and ask them to take their signs out of the windows, because there was a court decision in southern Illinois where it was decided that this was all illegal, and the governor didn't have the authority to issue these orders anymore. So after I got a rush of that stuff last week, I called our attorneys, Drendel and Jansen, and they wrote up, and I sent you all a copy of it, I believe you've all got it, of what really is the story here. And as you read, there's no order on Kane County that says you don't have to wear your mask or do all the things you're supposed to do. That order is only involving one circuit in southern Illinois. And I got people telling me our lawyers are crazy, but I'm going to stick with our attorneys, because I think they know what they're talking about. But we got them there, so I just want to bring you all in on how it is to be the mayor down here these days, because there's a lot of fur flying. And I will, it's unlike anything I've ever seen, and I've been here a long time, as you all know, but I've never seen it quite like this before. It's stuff I couldn't even have dreamt up myself. It is very unique. So with that being said, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Wolf, second by Alderman Knopp. Clerk, take a voice vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.